What's up, y'all? I got myself a Kizer sitting here on my table. And this is a Blade HQ exclusive. Or at least one of 6 freaking variants that they made of this. But I can kind of understand that. It was basically 3 of these, 3 of the normal ones, and then the variants were the color of micarta. None of which were this funky, off-looking kind of thing. I got the natural micarta because I wanted to try to dye it. And it was a little bit darker than this guy. It was a little bit more brown, but that's okay. So you'll have to forgive exactly how that was, or you'll have to forgive the funky color that this thing ends up having at the moment. And I am working on trying to figure out how to better dye Kizer's micarta, because if you had seen a previous one, I also had a problem with the Kizer Beglater XL, not HD, but some other companies' micartas, like Civivi and Tucson, ended up working out super well. So yeah, I'll have to figure out that, but I haven't done that yet. So this is essentially a Kizer Sheepdog. What does make it really special, though, is the fact that they've made these in CPM-10V steel. I don't know why they don't have CPM written on there, because 10V, it's a particle steel from Crucible, so it should be that. And they've also numbered all these different variants. This is apparently number 50 of the natural micarta without the flipper tab. That being said, yes, a normal sheepdog will have a pretty massive flipper tab going on the back here for deployment. However, these are kind of some of the newer ones that they've decided to do a flipper delete on, and they've added this oval hole here. And it works great. I can flick that open just like a thumb stud. You can do the reverse flick. That's great. And because this is a liner lock, pretty easy for a slow roll as well. So all of that stuff is great. And that also adds to the fact that you can choke up much farther on this blade than you can on the original that has this giant flipper tab on there. So that was kind of my reasons for getting that over the standard variant. And yes, I was very curious about the CPM-10V steel in here. I've started trying to do a little bit of a cut test on here, but I've only gotten around 50 on there, just at the end of me doing some others here. And yeah, it works out pretty well. I've reprofiled this to a 15-degree edge. And, well, you can see I have a single little mar there from the sharpening process. Always a little more difficult for coated blades. That being said, if I do remember what they said, these are titanium carbonitride coated blades, but now that I think about it, I might be wrong on that. Shoot. Well, I'll have the information down in the description, so I make sure that I'm not giving people incorrect information there. But yes, the only way that you could get these was coated. Obviously, CPM-10V is not a stainless steel at all. Much like M4 isn't a stainless steel either. They're, some tool steels, and because of which these things are supposed to be really, really good for the edge retention there, because they can throw a lot more stuff in there, not having to worry about chromium carbides getting in the way if they want to do something like put a hell of a lot of vanadium in there, which is what they've done with 10V. Interestingly, and something that most people really aren't going to care about, long time ago when Crucible was working on this stuff, they also have a steel called 11V, in which they've upped the vanadium count on that a little bit, and it ended up having worse edge performance from a knife perspective on it, due to just the way that those carbides were forming. I guess it was too much. So yeah, this was one of the best balances for this particular kind of thing going on here. If you're not familiar with it, it's a Chris Conway design. Yeah, we can see the little sheepdog knives sort of thing there, C01C. It's a Chris Conway design. And let's see. It does have some similarities to another Kizer that I have, and that's going to be the Towser K there. And this, for some people, myself included, kind of think that this was basically Ozzo's inspiration from this being a very popular design that Kizer's had. It's probably one of the most talked about knives that they've had for quite a long time. It is made with some of their older manufacturing techniques in there, so the action on these things is not absolutely stellar. It also doesn't help that this has a coated blade on here as its only option, but there is a bit of friction there, as you can hear there. But because it's a wide enough blade, you can at least flick it down. So it's I would consider it a wiggle shut. But yeah, I can go ahead and compare that a bit to the Towser K here. We can see the blades are fairly similar. This one has a bit more of an upturned blade. Ew, sorry about that. But yes, the handles have a fairly similar kind of ergonomic kind of grip going on there. This one obviously already has the flipper delete, but doesn't curve back in. It stays a little bit farther out, and of course this has a thumb stud rather than a flipper tab or the hole. This is also using their multi-row bearings, and it's not a coated blade, and newer manufacturing techniques. So yeah, this one has a much better action than this one in particular does. But this is using 154 cm, which is great steel. But the reason why I picked this up is because it's in CPM-10V, which is supposed to be a pretty phenomenal steel. So we'll see how that ends up working out. We do have quite a bit of lock bar cut out there. We don't have any chamfer on the lock bar itself. I don't necessarily think that that's absolutely imperative there, and it doesn't really feel like it's digging in when I give it a nice grip on there. So that's nice. This guy, let's see, has a 3mm blade stock thickness on here, so it is still a bit on the thin side. It's going to look a little bit more here with the swedge, but still nice and slicey, even though this blade is really looked at as a large workhorse of a knife, and it is. It is, however, a little bit smaller than I actually thought. People usually talk about this knife being absolutely huge, and well, the XL certainly is, but I did think that this was going to be more than a 3.5 finger knife for me. Obviously, because I got the one without the flipper tab, I can choke up there. So that works. But yeah, and your standard saber grip, yeah, just a little bit smaller handle than I initially thought that it was going to have. So in that way, I do actually appreciate the Towser K, because I do have just a little bit more to actually grip onto at the end there. The pocket clip on here is different from their normal deep carry clip that they use for their in-house designs. And I really do like it. It's a little wider, and I appreciate that. It's still deep carry, but pretty darn easy to slide that in, and doesn't really get in the way. It doesn't scoop back down necessarily, but it doesn't really stand up in any particular way that you end up feeling that in your grip. It just kind of stays out of the way. So yeah, I really appreciate that. All of these have blacked out hardware to match the blades. That's just kind of the way that they all were. And this thing is fairly thin. We have, let's see, where is it on my page here? We got 0.47, so little bit less thick than a paramilitary 2. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that we have nested liners. And yeah, as you can see, we do have liners on both sides, so this does have a nice rigid feel to it. If it didn't have liners on one side, it would be quite squishy. So glad that they ended up doing that. It's still not exactly the lightest thing. It's a little over 4 ounces, 4.18 ounces, or 118 grams. It actually, in hand, feels a little lighter than that, or a little bit more nimble. Probably just due to, I don't know, just the larger size for that being that kind of weight or something like that. But yeah, it feels quite nice. We got 3.31 inches, basically from this point here up to the tip, but you're going to have just a little bit less than that. You're probably 3.25 for the actual cutting length of the blade, which is basically what they advertise that as, is a 3.25 inch blade. So there's definitely that. And yes, this thing with a nice tall blade, it's ground pretty darn thin. It's not a laser blade behind there, but then again, this is also designed to do a lot more heavier duty tasks. So yeah, it's not, dealing with like a little crazy ass wire edge on the end there, but still very, very slicey. And because it's tall and doesn't really have an immense blade stock thickness at the top there, this thing is pretty darn slicey. I like it quite a bit. Like I said, still, I mean, this has a little bit different dimensions, but I still do kind of prefer a Kizer K over this guy. Let's see, those were the measurements that I wanted to go through, but hey, how about if we go ahead and do some blade size comparisons and whatnot. Yeah, I said that. Okay, so here we got the Ret number 1, which obviously larger. We got the PM2, which is a little tiny bit larger as well. So yeah, this thing isn't the absolute most immense thing in the world, like I've always heard people kind of refer to it as. Let's see, what else do I want to do that to? Oh, there's also the Benchmade 940. That's probably important. Pretty similar as far as length dimensions go, so that's kind of interesting. And why not? I have them out here, so yeah, let's put it up against another Kizer, that being the Begleiter and Begleiter 2. And pretty similar in size to the Begleiter 2 as well, which that would make sense. It's fairly similar to a 940 in those different configurations there. So, all right. So yes, like I said, I got this for the CPM-10V steel in here, and I will be doing some more cut testing with it. Like I said, I've done 50 hole cuts, which isn't a whole lot, and yeah, it's still hanging tough, as the new kids on the block would say. Yeah, and right up here is basically where I was using it. So lost just a little tiny bit of its polish, but still really easily able to cut through phone book paper. So yeah, we got a lot of ways to go. But all right, that's basically everything that I wanted to say about it. For those of you who want to stick around, I'm going to disassemble this guy. But for those of you who are just kind of here for a little bit more of the standard review, then well, I appreciate your time. As for the rest of y'all, let's go ahead and look on the inside. I don't know why my mind immediately thought upskirt shot. For one, it's creepy enough when people do that to other people, but I think it's probably even a little bit creepier in a different way to refer to inanimate objects like that. So, yeah, it does have /had a little tiny bit of a Loctite on there. Yes, nested liners on both sides, so that's nice. obviously we got the those in here. It's a little difficult to actually fully get these things out, just due to the way that they fit together with these liners. The liners are actually fairly tight in there against the barrel spacers and things like that. So yeah, it does take a little bit of effort to be able to correctly get that off of there. But there we are. And yeah, we can see we have their older style ceramic bearings there with the brown kind of harder plastic rather than the nylon that they're using these days. Yeah, there you go. And we do have a D-shaped pivot for Kizers. Most of them point upwards. So there's that. This one only really has that key on this bottom liner. The top one is fully round, but hey, that doesn't necessarily matter. And we got the blade stop pin up top there as well, which is a little interesting as you can see there, and even more clearly here. It does use the top of the micarta a little bit for that blade stop as well there. But yeah, I mean the micarta definitely does resist all of that stuff, so I don't really anticipate having any deformation or anything like that of the top of the handle from there. But yeah, that is basically what we got going on the inside. And then it's, like I said, a little bit more of a pain in the ass to get this guy back together correctly. So you got to make sure that that lines up, and then also the blade stop is the one that really, yeah, gave me a bit of trouble when I was first putting it back together. But seems like now that I know that and know what to look for, it's much easier to put back together. No problems whatsoever with the hardware. Kizer usually does really, really good hardware, so I don't have any worries about anything stripping out unless I do something stupid and use a really old and worn out Torx bit or something like that, and have a whole bunch of cam out kind of things going on. But I don't, so I'm not going to have any problems there. This one, oh yeah, I guess I should probably mention that. The pocket clip is actually inset into the micarta, which is something that is lacking on something like this Baglighter XL that I looked at. And, well, yeah, this is the next one I'm taking a look at. This is also channeled out here. It's a little teaser. Yeah, just got to make sure I actually grab the T6 for the pocket clip. This pocket clip is a little bit interesting, as most of the folded over clips do a pretty good job of holding the screws captive in there, and this one kind of doesn't. So you do have to kind of lace it through a little bit to make sure that you get that going in correctly. There's the first one. And the second one. There we go. Now I can fully tighten that one back up. Yeah, just a touch loose. Maybe still just a touch loose. There we go. Yeah, nice and rock solid. All right, well, that's basically everything that I was going to cover here, so I will leave it at that. As always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and have yourself a wonderful rest of your day, yo. Subscribe.